What's up, everybody? It's DJ with you. So excited to bring you this next segment, this next guest. As all of you know, we are incredibly just over the moon excited to be here at Athletix. And let me tell you how excited we are. We've got now relationships. I need one with these personal trainers, these fitness coaches, all these people, the great people that work here at Athletix. And I'll tell you what, a guy that I've really hit it off with here, and I know that everybody else is because he's local here. He's always been around, and he's seemingly always around this place in some form or some capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Mitch Hart, who joins us at this time. Mitch, what's going on, dude?
What's going on, dude? Not a whole lot. Living the dream, man.
You are. This place is absolutely phenomenal. This is the mecca of sports entertainment. If anybody is anybody's coming in here to meet with not only the student athletes of athletics, not only the community that has become the athletics kingdom here, but naturally, like people like yourself that are training people to be better in each and every sport. What drew you to this particular complex?
So I mean, my career was kind of taking me into like Newcastle, Pennsylvania for a while. And so I was kind of detached from the community for a couple years, and I caught wind that exactly what you said, the mecca of sports training was coming right to Columbiana County. And not only that, but right on my home street of Route 7. So I was excited to get back into that. And once I caught wind of it, I actually messaged Athletix. They had kind of a Facebook page going just to promote. The building wasn't even standing yet. And I said, I got to get in there. I knew it was going to be something like this. So I've kind of stayed in touch with the Wardle family since they've started. And here I am.
So talk to me about kind of how it started for you. I know sports is very, very near and dear to your heart. A Crestview guy, yes, nonetheless. Talk to me about being a rebel, growing up with sports, and then being able to bring kind of sports to your hometown of Columbiana / New Waterford / Columbiana County.
Yeah. So I graduated from Crestview, where I played baseball and I wrestled. And I've always been a huge fan of sports in general. And how I kind of got into this was I was actually, a lot of people might not know this about me, but I was actually born with like a severely underdeveloped abdomen. So, it was kind of like a handicap for me growing up through sports. And it took a lot for me to be able to compete and fit in with all the other guys. And that's all I ever wanted to do, was to hold my own. And so I actually had a trainer growing up, Brian Ranieri from the workout center. He got me into this, and that kind of opened my eyes to like, man, you can actually get better if you exercise, like as cliche as that sounds. Sure. Like I saw what it did for me, and like I couldn't hardly run, jump, lift weights. I couldn't really do anything at a young age. So I had a lot of barriers to break through to get to that point. And then fast forward into my junior year, I start wrestling. I was training at the workout center in Columbiana. One of the wrestling coaches comes up to me and says, you're always in here lifting weights. I know you only play baseball. Why don't you come out? You don't play a winter sport. Why don't you come out and wrestle? So I did that. And I'll never forget the first day Coach Ron Myers comes up to me and we get me on the scale. And he's like, Mitch, I'd like to see you lose about 15 pounds. I thought he was nuts. I thought that sounded like losing 50 pounds at the time. Well, a couple weeks go by, little diet and exercise, and I lost like 20 pounds. And I was like, man, this diet and exercise thing really works. So fast forward some more, I end up going to the University of Mount Union. Go Raiders. I graduate with a bachelor's degree in exercise science, kind of get into the field for a little bit. I'm doing a bunch of independent personal training, running around different gyms. And then I end up getting my master's degree from Ashland in exercise science. So
wow. So this is something that's been very near and dear to you since the jump.
Oh yeah. It's been definitely the pillar of my life and career pretty much from, 14 years old and on. So for sure.
So I guess the biggest thing and the biggest misconception that I see as an outsider and kind of seeing kind of both sides of this is people sit there and they go, well, I really would like a trainer or someone to help me get to my fitness goals, but I'm too afraid of kind of where I'm at right now.
Sure.
I'm too afraid to ask for help. When you hear that, that's got to be kind of like that headache in the back of your mind saying, just ask, just help.
Yeah, well, it is and it isn't, because I understand.
Okay.
I've been there before.
Gotcha.
I was never that gifted athlete. I was never that kid with good genetics who was naturally lean and muscular and fast, and you know, so I've been there before, so I can connect with that. But to most people's credit, it's not their fault. We go to school, we learn how to read and write. We go to driver's ed, we learn how to drive. We never learn how to exercise, and we never learn how to eat right. And those are the two biggest things that people struggle with, especially as they get out of high school and college. Then they start kind of putting on weight, or they start getting out of shape, or they start getting weaker, or, you know, things like that. And they just can't do the things they used to be able to do as good as they want to do them. So I can resonate with that because I've been there. But to me, in the way I approach training, I might be a little bit different than other trainers, where I'm not necessarily yelling, screaming, you know, trying to make you sick after every workout. I'm more so want to provide that education value to it, because I'm not going to, if you work with me twice a week, that's 2 hours a week. I'm not going to change your life 2 hours a week.
Right.
But what I might be able to do is communicate some education to you so that you work with me 2 hours a week, but then the rest of the week you have something to kind of think about and kind of apply some of those theories and methods to your own workout or your own diet regimen, to where it becomes a lot easier. Because the thing is, like, this can be as complicated as you want it to be, but at the foundation of it, it's very simple. Like, diet and exercise can be extremely simple if you let it be. And that's what I really try to, like, preach. If I can do it, anybody can do it. That is very much true.
Well, that's a little bit crazy, because I mean, I guess what people don't realize is a lot of this is discipline. A lot of this is
Absolutely.
You've got to want to do it for yourself. You know, it can't just be, you know, you want to fit into a bathing suit in March, and it can't just be, hey, I really want to get in shape because it's a new year.
Right.
This has got to be a lifestyle that you kind of incorporate, but it doesn't. A lifestyle feels so like overbearing.
Yeah.
But the reality is, for you guys, is you're here to help. You're not a drill instructor. You're not screaming at these people's faces while they're doing bench press. If for someone who's never been able to take advantage of your services, the classes they offer here, what can people expect here at Athletix and the people that are here to support them?
Yeah. So if you decided to start working with the trainer here at Athletix, what you can really expect to get from it is you're going to get a sense of belonging. Like, you're going to feel like you belong on part of the Athletix team. But really what you're getting from a fitness aspect is you're going to learn, whether you're working with me, Jerry, or Izzy, you're going to learn how to not just why you're doing the exercise, but or not just what exercise you're doing, but why. So say you're doing 6 exercises, like, there's a reason why the first exercise is first and the second exercise is second, and so on.
There's a natural progression.
There's an actual science flow to it. So you're going to learn the whys, the reasons, the hows of why we do so, you know, this and that. You're also going to learn, kind of where your limits are. You're going to learn what movements are best for you and what movements might not be best for you. There's a lot of internet heroes in the fitness industry, which was really tough for, you know, guys like me, for example, with a lot of education and certifications to go back to it. Like I said, like having a master's degree in exercise science and a couple of different certifications from the Institute of Human Performance. Like, there's guys like me and guys like Jerry were you know, educated and well-versed and well-experienced, but then there's all this social media, like, influencers who, they don't necessarily have the background or the education. They're just in really good shape. So how that hurts the public is a lot of times people will just think, well, they look like that, so they're probably know what they're doing, but that's not always the case. So here you're going to get a really professional experience. You're going to get trainers who are not only educated, but years of experience under their belt, who've worked with a wide range of clients. My youngest client was 5 years old. My oldest client was 86 years old.
Wow.
I've had amateur clients. I've had professional athletes. I've had special populations, people with illnesses and disabilities. And I've had your general everyday client who just wants to lose 10 pounds. So, and again, what you'll get here is you'll learn the rights and wrongs of biomechanics. So you're going to learn how to move correctly. You know, like if you hear people say, well, I can't squat anymore because it hurts my knees. Maybe you're just not squatting correctly,
yeah.
or you know, or deadlifting or whatever. You're going to learn a little bit about nutrition. You know, like you don't necessarily need to eat like a bodybuilder, but you know, we can teach you some tips and tricks on how to, you know, still kind of eat the way you want to eat, but be healthier at the same time. And I think like one of my biggest things is trying to change people's perspective on fitness. Again, it's not supposed to be torture. It's not supposed to be a bad thing. You're supposed to make you better. But what happens is when we're coming up through our life as a kid, you're playing sports, you kind of associate fitness with sports. But a lot of times what happens is if you're late for practice, your coach makes you run. So then you kind of have a negative psychological relationship with exercise. So then when you get done with sports, you're like, well, I don't want to run because my whole life I had to run because I did something bad. So not that I'm promoting running, but just exercise in general. So I like to change people's perspectives of how it really is. And not to sound cliche, but it really is just a lifestyle. Like no one has to force you to brush your teeth. You just do it. Sometimes we don't feel like going to work, but we still get up and go, clock in. So that's kind of what I try to hammer home with some people. Like it really isn't torture. It can be fun. Yeah. You know, there's a bunch of different modes of exercise that, you know, if you don't like running, you might like weightlifting. Or if you don't like weightlifting, you might like swimming. Like there might be something for everybody. So
you said a couple of things that gave me some questions for you. So you said you had such a wide range of clients, 5 years to 86 years. Do you have a favorite? Do you have like one that you really enjoy working with, or is it just depend on the client, depend on the day, depend on who it is?
Right. So I personally, we got Jerry in here. So I personally love, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't prefer to work with athletes, because like I think most trainers, especially if you're like highly educated and really, you know, making it your full-time career, I think most of those professionals want to train athletes. Sure. That's kind of the end goal. But for me, it doesn't necessarily have to be an athlete as long as it's somebody who's very much committed.
Yeah.
And that's what I want.
Yeah.
I would rather have someone who's not an athlete who works as hard as an athlete does than have an athlete who maybe not really be all in. Most of the time athletes are your clients that are all in though. So that's what's great. But I don't care who it is, as long as you're in here and you really want to, like, you're taking it serious and you're committed and you're going to give it your best. I'll work with anybody. Like, I mean, I've worked with almost every type of person you possibly could. But athletes are definitely what I want to focus most of my time on if I can, just because, you know, that's what I kind of went to school for.
Sure.
But outside of that, yeah, I mean, I work with anybody as long as you're into it.
The thing that I love most about you and Jerry and really everybody here at Athletix is there's a feeling like you're in this with them, and their results are personal to you because obviously, you know, it's your job. You take it very seriously, but you know, I've heard, you know, stories of you guys check up on your athletes, how they're performing on the field, even when they're not in the facility, when they're training to go, you go to games, you check up on their stats, you do all that stuff. I guess, why do you go over the top to make sure that you have that personal connection with the people that you train, with these relationships with the people that you spend so much time with here in the gym and in the facility?
Because at least the way I look at it is the moment that the client signs that dotted line, I'm their responsibility, or they're my responsibility.
Gotcha.
So I look at it as they signed a dotted line, they swipe their credit card, and it's not just about money at that point. Like they've trusted me to get them where they want to be, and it's my responsibility to make them the best version of themselves. Now, is every athlete that's going to come in here going to end up going D1? Maybe not.
Right.
Are they all going to become All-Americans? Maybe not. But I still have to treat every single client the same, whether they have the most potential or not, because my responsibility now is to make them the best version of themselves that they possibly can be. Because you never know what's going to, what you can create from that. I mean, I've had clients who have come in with no sense of direction, not a whole lot of self-esteem, not a whole lot of confidence. And, you know, a couple months go by and it's like a whole totally different person now.
Yep.
I mean, they're in better shape, they're stronger, they're able to talk to people easier now. And at the same time, they get better at sports and they look better, you know, so it's a win-win.
So a couple more questions like we do on YSN. First one I'm going to ask you is take it kind of off the field, out of the athletics complex. Who is your role model and why?
So again, I kind of mentioned earlier what got me into all of this growing up was, again, I had a personal trainer too. It was Brian Ranieri, who owns the workout center in Columbiana. He taught me everything I knew before I got to college, and I'm still calling him today, asking him questions. He was just one of those old school guys, power lifter, bodybuilder, gritty, you know, strongest guy I'd ever seen, stuff like that. He was who really sparked my interest into getting into this as a profession, because I would have never thought of that as a profession, especially growing up. Like, my family was never real into weightlifting and stuff, and like we did sports, but we weren't like crazy sports people at the time. And so I just kind of found myself in and out of a gym. And then I just saw, I'm like, wait a second, this can actually be a career, especially nowadays, because of how much the industry is growing. And so, yeah, he really got me into it. And then, you know, I've always looked up to, you know, other athletes and stuff around the area. But yeah, he was definitely a big one for me.
What gets you going? I mean, is it quotes? Is it music? Is it, you know, what's the one thing that gets you just hyped up and ready to take on a big workout or get ready for a big client?
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely love, I mean, I'm kind of, I can be kind of corny sometimes. Like, I love some of those old motivational quotes. When I was younger, throwing on a Rocky movie was game over for me. That's all I needed. And that's actually one of the things that got me into it too. Like, the first time I watched Rocky, I'm like, man, I want to look like that guy. I want to do that. So that's really how I started getting into weightlifting, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, that kind of stuff. But I definitely love like a lot of those motivational quotes. I definitely, you know, I'll lean into some heavier music, stuff like that to get me pumped up. But for the most part, it's a passion, man. Like, I could go, I'm one of those sickos who could go in and work out with no headphones and, you know, just dead silent gym if I needed to.
Oh, man.
You know, I prefer music.
Yeah.
But, but I mean, I could go by myself in the dark with no music and still get through a workout. It's just fun for me.
All right. So here's what's going to set you apart. The final question: what is the one thing people should know about you as a trainer, as an individual, as someone who cares about them getting better? What's the one thing people should know and why they should invest time, not only here at Athletix, but time with you, Mitch?
Well, I could say, and this is what I tell pretty much every client when they first sign up with me. And I always lead off with, this is not the best job security for me when I say this, but my goal is for the client to one day not need me. I feel like if I have a client that I've been working with for 6 months and then they stop working with me for whatever reason, they move away or whatever, and they can't do it on their own, then I've failed them. So again, what I always say is, I'm not training Navy SEALs. I don't need to be screaming, and that's not what you need me for. If I only see you for 2 hours a week, me just kicking your butt in the gym and sending you home doesn't really help you that much. Right. I mean, it does for those 2 hours, but outside of that, it's not going to help you that much. So I prioritize education over everything. And that is what sets me apart from other trainers, where they're just wanting to make you sweat and get rid of you, that's fine too. Like, sometimes that's what people need, but I'm so passionate about teaching people all the things that I wish I knew when I started.
Yeah.
And like, I teach them how to create their own workout. I show them their program and like build it in front of them to show them, okay, here's why we're doing this. Right. Here's why it's going to be this exercise for this many sets and this many reps with this tempo and this long a rest. Like there's all kinds of things to it. Because I want them to understand it, because the better you understand what you're doing, the more you're going to get out of it. If you just blindly go through a workout and just have me tell you when to start and stop, you don't really take much home with you. So my goal is to have you be able to leave me, say you move away and you want to keep working out, you're going to be able to design your own programs. You're going to be able to understand why you're going to do what exercises you're going to do, and you're going to have some type of like method to apply to it. You're not just going to aimlessly exercise, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. It's like if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. That's kind of how I look at it. So and not that your program has to be structured a year out at a time, but even just like okay, here's what I'm going to do for 3 weeks. I'm just going to do this for 3 weeks, and then I'm going to start something else. And that's what I really like to try to get people to understand, is like, it's not that hard. Anybody can do it. And just let me help you. And then what the other thing you can get from me is like a lifetime mentor. Like, even if you're not working for me, you can still maybe kind of use the programs I've given you over time, and just give me a call or shoot me a text and ask questions if you need questions, or pop in Athletix and say, hey, I've been working on this. You got any tips? I'm always more than willing to help people, even if they're not paying for a session with me. Like, I like it enough that I'll sit and work with you if I don't have anybody else go. If I've got a couple hours in between clients or something, I'll go in and help people all the time. So,
a little pro bono. I like it.
No doubt. Yeah, I'm big on that kind of stuff.
You mentioned call, text. How do people get a hold of you if they want to start something with you?
Yeah. So most times I'll just give out my personal cell phone, which sometimes is good and bad. I'll have clients texting me at midnight asking me if it's okay to eat a Snickers bar. But I'm always available for a phone call or a text. You can find me on Instagram. I think it's just Mitchell Hart _08, I think is what it is at the moment. People can message me right on there. I've booked a lot of clients that way, or just call in Athletix and ask for Mitch.
Awesome. Mitch, thank you so much. Appreciate you, man. It's been awesome to sit down with you. Hopefully this is the first in maybe a series of stuff we're going to do. So appreciate you. Thanks for staying local, and thanks for helping out everybody here at Athletix.
Absolutely. Thank you.